Good evening, dear tutor and students from the course research project, from United University. I am David Arroquín, and in this semester, I have been making a research that I will explain in few minutes. So in this lesson of the research project course, I have decided to make a research proposal related to some of the students who I used to work with in my job. So this is what I am going to talk about in this video. The research project that I have been doing is about the lack of motivation that some students sometimes shows and why it is difficult for them to develop the speaking skills. So the questions that I'm going to talk about is the next one. Can lack of motivation be a factor that makes students reluctant to speak in English, or is it because of some cognitive issues? The reason why I think it's very important to mention this kind of problem is because in the time that I have been working as a teacher, I have been aware of how some of my students sometimes find it difficult to talk about different topics in English. I have been working for about 2 years in my English Institute, which is Time the Way English Institute, and in that time that I have been working, I have seen that some of them sometimes find it difficult to talk about in English. I don't know if maybe this is because the motivation is so low, or maybe because there are some problems, maybe not precisely on their mind. Well, maybe it's a problem on their mind, in their mind, but I mean, what I try to explain is that maybe are there some problems inside their brains when they are trying to speak. So let me tell you more about this research and why I consider this is very important. So during my short experience as a teacher working in an English institute, I have seen many different kinds of students. There are some students that are good at many areas of English, but there are others that are good at other skills, but bad at others, as speaking skills. And the skills that most of the students find weakness, of course, is speaking skills. The kinds of students that go to the institute are generally between 15 and 22 years old. Of course, there are students that also are child and adults. I have found many difficulties also in older people. I don't know, maybe if they are used to speak only in Spanish, and at the moment of learning a new language they generally try to translate. So this is another kind of thing that motivated me to do this research. But in the first place, the most important thing was the students that were about 15 and 22 years, because they were the ones that really showed more lack of motivation. Very good. Let's continue. I have observed that the students generally don't want to speak in English, and my concern is directed especially for those that, although are interested in learning English, don't want to speak in this language. There have been some cases when the student is trying to speak, but he finds it difficult, and then he stops talking. The reason I think it is an important problem to solve is because everybody has the ability to learn a language, and if doesn't, are there some mental or cognitive issues that are affecting the students to speak in a foreign language? Now let's continue talking about the statement of this problem. The emotions and feelings that a person can have are generally linked to the decisions and actions that person takes. The idea of speaking in a language different from that you are used to doing is something challenging for everyone. Some people are Some people face it in an exciting way, but others don't. Some people find frustration in their way of speaking when they make mistakes. That situation makes them feel insecure and anxious. In many cases, people forget the purpose they had at the moment of studying the target language and avoid participation, especially when they perceive the activities to become monotonous. On the other hand, there are people that are always enthusiastic to practice and participate and aren't afraid of mistakes, but anyway, they also find it difficult to gain fluency.
Theoretical perspective. The theory that I will use is the foreign language anxiety. It was developed by Horwitz and Co. 1986. This theory mentions the problems that many students face when speaking in a foreign language. Foreign language anxiety consists of self-perceptions, beliefs, feelings, and behaviors related to classroom language learning arising from the uniqueness of the language learning process. Foreign language learning process is a unique process because learners are required to communicate using language which they have not mastered perfectly. It was said by Horwitz and Co. 1986. As applied to my topic, this theory will help me understand why some students find it difficult to speak in a foreign language which, in this case, this would be an independent variable. The reason I think this must be an excellent problem to solve is due to the duality that I see in the two possible options to solve this issue. In the first part, there are some researches that propose that many of those problems at the moment of speaking are linked to psychological factors such as lack of self-esteem, lack of motivation, or lack of interest. Some of my students show part of it, but I don't know if this is the absolute answer to the problem. On the other hand, there is the possibility that some cognitive issues are affecting the process of learning how to speak in English, and my ideal is to try to identify which of those problems could be closer to the reality. Okay, now let's continue with the literature review. Those are some researches that are linked with the topic I want to study. The first one is a research made in a high school in Indonesia where the author mentions some psychological factors that affect the development of speaking in English. The author mentions factors such as shyness, fear of mistake, anxiety, lack of confidence, and even lack of motivation. In this link, you can find more information about this topic. The second one is an article where the author tries to explain that many of the problems in the students are the need to be motivated to learn. He says that motivation is an important factor. In this research, the author shows some data analysis where he tries to demonstrate that some of the reasons of the lack of motivations are. The third research is about helping students overcome foreign language and speaking anxiety in English classroom, theoretical issues, and practical recommendations. This is a research made in Greece for the authorities to demonstrate that anxiety is an important factor that affects students' performance. You can find more information in this link. Well, talking about the research paradigm that I will use will be related to positivism. And the research approach that I have decided to apply for this research is a quantitative approach. My objective is to make some kinds of surveys to measure how many of the students find it difficult or easy according to some questions. And the research methods that I will use, as I was saying, are some surveys, especially.
Okay, very good. So as you could see, it was all the topics that I have decided to implement for this research project. So I really appreciate for your time for watching this video, and I hope to see you in another opportunity. Thank you very much. Bye bye.